Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. And if you're new here, my name is Forrest, and this is my 1985 Chevy K30 Suburban. I just recently finished a Cummins swap on. It's been a little while since I filmed a truck update. There's plenty of things I can show you guys that are new, some things that have changed a little bit. I have some wins and some struggles I'll show you guys I've been dealing with the past few months with this truck. And I have some big announcements at the end of this video, so stick around. In the last truck update I was right in the middle of doing a lot of interior work, new gauges, new A-pillar gauges. I'll show you guys what we have going on in here right at the moment. With the exception of all my basic upgrades like fans, USB chargers, USB outlets, my LCD screen that runs the radio, and Apple CarPlay, those are all very basic upgrades. What isn't so basic, at least to install, is the Dakota Digital VHX gauges. That was a major upgrade I definitely had to do with this truck, especially with the Cummins swap in there. None of the factory gauges will work with this setup. I also went ahead and installed GlowShift's A-pillar gauges. I went with air pressure at the very top. I'm going to be adding an air tank on this truck to air my tires up and down. I've got a pyrometer as well as a boost gauge installed as well. The pyrometer is good, that way you make sure you're not melting any injectors if your EGTs get too high, and then the boost gauge comes right off the turbo. That way I know I'm not going to blow any intercooler boots or anything on this truck as well. Adding the tach actually rolls me into my next topic, and this is something that I have changed on this vehicle since the last time I filmed it. I went ahead and installed 373 gears. That way we're not over revving. I think on the freeway with my old setup was running somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,500 RPMs going barely 65. Now with this setup I can cruise comfortably 70, almost 75 on the freeway, under 2,000 RPMs. So that was a major update since last time I saw you guys. So sitting under here, I'm sure is what everyone clicked on this video for, and that is the 1993 first generation Cummins engine. So to start off, there's a few solid upgrades I've done to this engine since the last video I filmed, and I'll show you guys right now. So first off, I added a bigger air cleaner. The old one was pretty restrictive. I know that's a very minor upgrade in the grand scheme of things, but I feel like it makes a big difference, and I feel like it lowered my engine temperatures drastically, especially when climbing big hills, four-wheel drive trails. I also added that pyrometer. That buds in right there to the backside of the exhaust manifold. So that is new. We got an HX35 turbo, so a little bit bigger boost pressures as well. We have a PA performance alternator. That's a one-wire alternator. It helps with these swaps a lot. That's the one thing, if I could give anyone advice, I would say buy the PA performance alternator. That way you're not hurting your wiring harness or doing any conversions with the solenoids that come with these motors from the factory. Makes it very simple and takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. Most of the other upgrades I've done are on this side of the engine. To start, I had a massive leak develop out of my injection pump, which is this guy down here. So I took that guy all apart. It was actually, let's see if I can film it. Everything's hot. So the leak I had was coming from between this plate right here. There's 4 bolts that go through, and there's a seal there, and this is where all your injector lines come in. That seal went out, and it was just drip, drip, drip all night, all day. And it was actually aerating my fuel, and so the engine was losing its prime. It was taking in air every time I would shut it off. It was underpowered. I knew it had to be rebuilt, and I had just gotten around to it, and I'm glad that I did, because gained so much power back. And while I was at it, I threw in to the pump, I threw in an upgraded fuel pin here in the top, and then when I had the top of the pump off, I actually threw in a 3,200 RPM governor spring. That way we can rev this thing a little higher and actually get on the freeway in time. The other major upgrade I did while I was in there, I bought a 2nd gen intake. It's a little higher flowing than the last one I had, way more robust. I actually fabricated a little bracket that comes off of it to hold my oil dipstick as well. If you're going to do one of these second gen intakes with the first gen motor, the very front stud does not clear one of the first injector lines, so I clearanced that off in order for it to clear. It would usually have another bolt that goes down right there, but it's still sturdy as can be without that. While I was in there taking care of the fuel system, I did also add, if you can see way down there, I did all AN fuel lines. Just that way I was guaranteeing I wasn't going to rub through any of my old rubber fuel lines. Replace the old fuel filter, it had been forever, that was on here. Just double checking all of my boxes in order to make sure this thing is reliable as can be. And the fuel tank had to be dropped regardless. I cleaned it up a little bit. Did some AN fuel lines off of it, return and feed. Most of the other upgrades I've done underneath the hood have to do with wiring. I actually just went down to Napa the other day and picked up this Optima red top battery. I do plan on getting a second one and probably mounting it in the back for a dual battery setup. I do plan on picking up another Optima battery soon, probably a yellow top, and I'm going to add it into my dual battery setup that I'm going to mount in the back of the truck. Most of the other wiring is hiding down here on the fender well of the truck. It looks confusing, but I promise in person it's not that bad. Those are power splits I picked up on Amazon for about 20 bucks a piece, and they'll take up to a 4-gauge wire, which is pretty sweet. They hold all the power for all the accessories I have running on this guy and makes the wiring job much easier if you're going to add accessories. I did also install, and I don't remember if I had these in my last video, LED headlights, brights as well as amber lights for when we're driving here in the desert. Also have this Badland winch I took off one of our other vehicles. I installed that guy on a front hitch receiver that I had hanging out around the shop. Another major upgrade that I did, this was a little while ago, maybe a month or two, it's made a huge difference. I added a different drag link here to my steering, so it's just straight right at the moment. Used to have my old off-road design drag link flipped upside down. It was a little weird, steering wasn't as tight as it could be. So picked this drag link up on the Jungle website. And then I did fabricate this high clearance cross member as well. We got about maybe ½ inch of clearance from my oil pan down here. And then just got her painted black with some grade 8 bolts. That made a huge difference. Speaking of huge differences, this guy down here, I have a little backstory on my brake proportioning valve that I'll throw in here for you guys. She was actually leaking as well on top of the injection pump, creating huge puddles in my driveway. I'll throw in that clip right now. All right, currently doing a gravity brake bleed, just in preparation for a big trip I'm going on. I've had issues with leaky brakes for the past probably month or two on this truck. And I will show you guys what I think was going on and how I fixed it. What we're looking at here is a brake proportioning valve for a square body Chevy. I'll go ahead and leave you the part number right there off of Summit Racing. When I converted the truck, I converted the rear end to disc brakes, and you do that, you need a different bore on the proportioning valve. The one I had before was for disc and drum in the rear. This is for disc to disc. Generally, these are a great part. Never had issues with the other two I've bought. This is the first one I've had issues with, and I'll show you where it comes from. And I think I know why as well. So the first issue I do believe comes from underneath this guy. There is a rubber O-ring that's supposed to be there, and don't worry, I already took this one out because it was bad. You want to make sure that that's not hard and cracked. Essentially down in there you've got a spring that goes up and down. That's what helps your brakes not lock up. Up here on the top is your brake light switch. So that O-ring went bad on me. It was causing a leak to come out the top of there. I was getting a lot of brake fade, a lot of uneven braking as well. The Cummins also rattles a lot, and this is mounted right in front of the harmonic balancer on most trucks. So that, I think, was my first issue. The second issue, it rattled so much that the old fitting on the end of here actually began to ream out these threads. everything was clean and straight when I put it on, and then give it 2 years, and of course she rattled loose again and began really leaking, gunking up my whole setup in the driveway down there. So before I got too crazy, I went out to the old toolbox and grabbed the cut and flare tool for the brake lines. Figured I was also going to need brand new line nuts as well on most of those fittings. They were pretty old and rusted. Can't believe my local AutoZone actually had these in stock. They were in a box in the very back. We had to search for them for quite a while, but they had them. And I do apologize to any new viewers. This video might seem a little bit all over the place. I just have so many fails I wanted to share, so many accomplishments, updates, and whatnot. I figured I might throw in a 10 or 15 second clip of me just explaining what drivetrain I have in here and the different components involved. I do encourage any new viewers to go back in this playlist this video is in and check out the previous 2 or 3 uploads. It really explains in depth and shows the whole build process. So for starters, underneath my front end to roll these 37-inch Toyo MT mud terrains, I've got a Dana 60 Chevy front axle. It's the Kingpin. Under the hood, obviously the main event, I've got the 1993 first generation 12-valve Cummins engine that's been intercooled and turned up a little bit. The other main event, the big dog that's transferring all the power from the 12-valve, I've got a NV4500. It's got the upgraded 5th gear nut. It's got the bigger shaft, input shaft. It's got all the bells and whistles. It's hiding up underneath there. Behind the NV4500, I actually adapted a Chevy NP241C transfer case. It's the chain-driven transfer case, so it's a lower gear ratio. I adapted that with a Tom Woods slip yoke eliminator. And then I was actually able to do a Tom Woods drive shaft all the way to the rear end as well, which in my previous video, I'm not even sure I had a front drive shaft. We've got a front drive shaft in there as well now. How could I forget the exhaust? I don't even think that was finished last time I picked up the camera for you guys. Let me show you what I ended up with. So I have my exhaust, ignore my shock boot here. I have my exhaust routed up under here. This is actually a Diamond Eye 4-inch exhaust. The only fabrication that I had to do was right here on the end. I have my dump pipe right there. It used to dump right over my rear axle. It used to fill the whole side of my truck with black soot, but it no longer does that because I have it dumping straight down. This is, again, the Diamond Eye kit for a first-gen Cummins. I believe it was the one for a single cab long bed W250. This turbo, actually being with a 4-inch exhaust, I did have to buy an adapter for the back of my turbo in order to adapt that to a 4-inch outlet. See if I can zoom in on that for you guys. And it comes really close to the AC housing here, but does not touch. So I have a 4-inch outlet on the HX35, get those EGTs down as much as I can. So we've really got it all opened up here. The last thing to do is going to be to open up these barn doors, show you guys what I have going on in the back. So as you can see on top of my subwoofer box, I've got a Badlands jack hiding back there. Don't worry, everything's strapped down super tight. I was thinking about picking up one of those rough country tire holders and bolting that down back here. I do have a full-size spare as well as my toolboxes down there in case anything happens on the road. In the back here, just have some camping gear that we've been prepping the last few weeks, making sure I have everything that I'm gonna need. And that brings me to my next topic. I'm headed up to the Eastern Sierra. That's right, Highway 395. We're gonna be headed all the way up and down California. Gonna do some awesome hiking for 9 or 10 days, see all the spots that we wanna see. And I'm gonna do it all in the Chevy Suburban that I've been building for the last 2.5 years. If you guys are into trucks, hiking, fishing, mine exploration, abandoned buildings, fun dirt roads, go ahead and give me a subscribe on this channel. I would love to have you as a part of our community. And if you want to see this next video, make sure you turn post notifications on so you don't miss as soon as I upload it. I appreciate you guys so much, and we'll talk to you soon. out of gas driving your dually in the valley, or dad's got to tow you back. Almost home.